Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, CEO of Dealer Synergy and the creator of Automotive Internet Sales.com. And I'm here to talk to you about TrueCar. That's right, folks, TrueCar is all over the industry, buzzing in the blogs and the forums, conversation, but not for the right reasons. It seems that there's a blog going around by a gentleman named Joe Webb of Dealer Knows. He wrote a blog post called, "Is this the beginning of the end of TrueCar?" No, it's not. But apparently Joe thinks that this might be the end of TrueCar. They're in a downward spiral, and I'll go into that. But first I want to just say is that I know Joe Webb personally. I think Joe is a great guy. I think he's a great trainer. He just happens to have this completely wrong. And over here, he basically talks about their new policy for write-offs. I'm going to get into that in a second, but I want to read the first statement. It says, TrueCar has had a roller coaster ride in the automotive retail industry over the past few years. However, it appears things may be taking a turn for the worse. Both TrueCar as well as the participating dealer clients. Read on as I reveal the new policy. Now, I don't know the choice of the title. I don't know if it's sensationalism, they want to, get more blog views or what have you, but I'm going to just set the record straight. TrueCar's not going anywhere. They're not going down. They've got 6,500 dealers. And I just want to set the record straight. Everybody that knows me, Sean V. Bradley, I have a very strong presence in this industry. I don't normally get involved in the he said, she said stuff. I normally don't voice my opinions about companies I don't like or think are doing bad or what have you. I just don't do that. I think one time in the last 10 years I really focused hard was the recent situation with Cars.com. Jim Ziegler, who's a really good friend of mine, one of my mentors, basically lit Cars.com up for doing some really bad things to dealers and some unethical things. And Brian Pasch made a response saying that Jim's completely wrong and he's cuckoo and, blah, 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 blah. And I jumped out and I shot a video explaining why I 100% agree with Jim Ziegler and I 100% disagree with Cars.com as well as Cars.com's approach towards things. And for the record, I have done business with Cars.com. I've never had a falling out with Cars.com. As a matter of fact, Cars.com was a sponsor of my Chicago Internet Sales 20 group. So we're on friendly terms. But when it becomes public that Cars.com, did something inappropriate, wrong, against dealer protocol or etiquette or just common sense, I'm going to address it. Now, on the flip side, so now I'm now coming to the defense of TrueCar. And I got to tell you, the people over TrueCar are amazing. I work with Mike Timmons, who's the Executive Vice President of TrueCar, and then Ken Potter, who's the Vice President of Dealer Development. And I've personally known Ken Potter for 12 years. Folks, I've been the CEO of Dealer Synergy for almost 10 years. April will be 10 years I've owned this company. And I've been building internet departments and BDCs all over the United States and overseas. And before I even became the CEO of a multi-million-dollar training and consulting company, I was an internet director. I was a BDC director. I ran over 100 units a month out of my department at Cherry Hill Nissan and Pine Belt Nissan Kia Cadillac in Toms River, New Jersey. And I got to tell you, Ken Potter was my rep. Ken Potter used to be the manager and the VP of Cars Direct. And Joe Webb is right about one thing. TrueCar did go through some difficulties within the last couple of years with their whole policies. And by the way, Jim Ziegler again lit them up because he's the dealer advocate. And then what happened is TrueCar went through a whole redesign, a whole remake, a whole system change brought on by Ziegler and everybody else in the Alpha Dog tribe, I would admit. And one of the things that Scott Painter did, the CEO of TrueCar, was hire my friend Ken Potter out of Cars Direct because of Ken's reputation of integrity. Ken was in the Air Force working with like nuclear missile programs and stuff like that. The guy's a stand-up guy. Like I said, I've personally known him for 12 years. He's a great father, a great person, a great car guy, and he's always had the dealers, he's always had your best interest in mind. So when somebody's going to attack and say some ludicrous statements, is this the end of TrueCar, and start negative propaganda, I feel personally to step in because they're attacking my friend Ken Potter, who's representing, TrueCar, and it's all false. It's BS. It's not true. And then I find it distasteful that everybody smells like blood in the water. They're going to jump on the bandwagon. And then, I've got Brian Pasch here, which I'm very confused about. In his post that says right here, I'm going to read, it says, dealers using TrueCar should be aware of a policy change that will go into effect on September 1st, which will impact credits that dealers have been used to getting on duplicate leads. Joe Webb starts the discussion with dealers on this blog, in which I encourage you to read. Brian has also paid sponsored post saying that he disagrees with the TrueCar, program and what they're doing. But what I don't understand is that TrueCar sponsors AutoCon. Now, AutoCon is a big, huge event, which I think is a great event, and TrueCar is the title sponsor. If people did not believe in TrueCar as a good company, ethical company, why would you take your money? Why would you take that money and be able to make them your title sponsor? So that doesn't even make sense to me. If TrueCar is going to be good enough to take their money and do scholarships and do marketing and do advertising, the so-called CEOs and executives shouldn't turn around and then go slam them on the other side of their mouth. So I'm just sorry, it is what it is. So now, let's get into the issues here. The issue and the controversy with TrueCar is their new write-off policy. Well, I got to tell you, I just interviewed for 35 minutes both Mike Timmons and Ken Potter of TrueCar, and after this video, I'm going to play the video GoTo Meeting right behind this. So I'm giving you my synopsis of the situation, my opinion and my thoughts, but then you could hear from the two TrueCar executives directly from their mouths what their vision is. But I want to tell you this right now, they're not trying to take advantage of dealers. They're not trying to take money out of your mouths. It's not the case. Here's the reality. When they did go through that whole corporate infrastructure change, they were very liberal. It's like if you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar and it's like, oh, okay, you're going to go out of your way to try to help out and do stuff. So they had a very liberal write-off policy. I'm talking about liberal to the point where dealers, and they even know it, dealers admitted it, we're taking advantage of it. Again, it's a lot easier to just write off leads that are dead, bogus, bad, whatever, that weren't, because it lowers your average cost per sale, it averages your average cost in advertising down. So TrueCar is like, enough, okay, enough. Like, we've made our penance, we've changed our whole program, we're trying to do obviously the best thing possible for you, the dealer. So there has to be a line of demarcation. So dealers wanted to turn on and find out what the rules were, so they just created a write-off policy. It's not that deep. It's a write-off policy. It's what you could write off. Now, here's the thing. Nothing is set in stone. This is a car business. There's exceptions to different things, but you have to have certain rules so you know when you're in the lines or you're coloring out of the lines. Again, you need to know if you're coloring in the lines or coloring out of the lines. But some of it is just common sense. And the way that TrueCar came up with their write-off policy is that they decided that, okay, we're not going to just say yes or no. There's going to be a no. There's going to be a partial, credit back. And there's going to be a full credit back. So I'm going to repeat that. There's going to be some situations that dealers are going to want to get credits and they're going to have to say no. Just like if somebody buys a car from you and they want to return it, you might have to say no. And there's some times where you might take the car back but trade them out. And there's sometimes you might just take the car back and just eat the loss and move forward. So TrueCar has those three scenarios: a no, a partial, and a full-blown yes. Now, there's different rules in different situations, but bottom line is this. If it is a dead lead, you can't just write off a dead lead just because you weren't able to get that person into the dealership. If it's got the right contact information, it was a proper lead, then you're going to be held accountable for that. Now, if it is a bogus lead, if it is a bad lead, just classify however you want to classify it, you can possibly be entitled to a partial or full credit. Here's the thing that's the craziness. I've actually heard from dealer principals. I was just at a dealership in Detroit 2 days ago, and I was speaking to the dealer principal, and he said from his 20 group, I don't know if it was NAD or NCM, but he heard from his 20 group that there was a notice going on that if somebody turns around and buys a car from your dealership and then they leave and go on to TrueCar to hold your dealership accountable to get a good price, then TrueCar is going to charge back, the dealership that deal. I personally got on the phone with Mike Timmons, and he said that's not true. That's not the case whatsoever. Now, there is a line of distinction that you need to understand about TrueCar. TrueCar is not a traditional third-party provider, a third-party aggregator. They don't play with wholesale stuff. From my understanding, they're the only lead source provider, if you call it that, with their model. They only make their money off of you, the dealer. I'm going to repeat that. This is very important. 100% of their revenue comes from you, the dealer. That's not the case with some, most, or almost all of the other third-party providers, online classifieds, third-party aggregators. They make their money, and a lot of their money, by churning leads. It's a very powerful word. Remember it, churning leads. So what happens is that they're going to buy leads. They're going to repackage the leads, resell the leads. They're going to, you're going to take your money, so you could supposedly generate leads from them. They're going to take your inventory, sell your inventory to other companies. They're going to post it. I mean, so most lead source providers make money several different ways. Not all of them, but a lot of lead source providers make money by wholesaling leads, by repackaging leads, and all this other stuff. So they're getting paid by, let's say a different lead source provider might get paid on the wholesale market. They might get paid by the manufacturer. They might get paid by their competitors. They might get paid by different vendors. They might get paid. I mean, that's the truth. It is what it is. Just like at a dealership, you can make money on the front end, the back end, in the middle. You can make money from F&I, from reserve, from new car gross, used car gross, from aftermarket. There's so many different ways to make money. What do you think, these lead source providers are stupid? No. There's a lot of money here. They're making their money different ways, not TrueCar. TrueCar makes their money solely by the dealership. Now, there's also a distinction, that TrueCar has a unique model where they don't charge you up front. Think about that. They only, in that model, in that specific model, make money if you make money. So yes, because of what they've got to do to advertise and market, and create the opportunity, there's certain rules. But this is a free country. This might not be right for you. This might not be right for your dealership. But just for the record, at the end of the day, you need to do what's called a cost-benefit analysis. You know what I'm tired of hearing about in this industry, and these so-called, experts and consultants, and for the record, I'm not talking about the people I just mentioned like Brian or Joe Webb. I'm talking about just these hacks. There's a lot of people out there that have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Some people have never even worked in a damn dealership before, and they want to give you all these VDPs and hits and all that. Stop the bull. Okay? At the end of the day, it's about how much money are you making? How much money are you netting? Stop being distracted with the hocus pocus stuff. At the end of the day, how much are you putting out? How much are you making? And how much are you netting? If you don't know what you're netting, that's a problem. You need to have some dealer clarity. You need to clarify what you're making and what you're netting. Okay, so my thing here as a real consultant, okay, is how much money are you netting? So if you're going to invest X amount of dollars in any initiative, what is it costing you to put out? Time and money. What are you getting out of it? And after you, X out the expenses and the time and the BS, what are you true netting? What's your true net? Okay? And if you feel that true net is worth the time and the money that you put out, then bing, 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 it makes a good decision. So I just think it's irresponsible for companies or consultants that are in a position of authority and a position of respect to say, oh, this is wrong or this is bad. How could a company that their job is to provide dealers opportunities to do business, they're bad, they're the bad guy? Are you freaking serious? How about this? There's other lead source providers that take your money up front and they have no minimums. Most lead source providers, it's like $18, $20, $25 per lead, sometimes more, and you're going to buy 100 leads for $2,000 or $2,500. And that's it. Whatever happens, happens. Good luck with that. With TrueCar, in one of their programs, they only get paid if you sell the automobile. But that's a bad company? That's a pariah company? No. Are they perfect? No. You know what I mean? And I'm not getting paid any extra money to turn around and say this. I just want to set the record straight. No company's perfect. None of those companies I mentioned before is perfect. I'm not perfect. We're all trying to do the best that we can in the most ethical, professional way. And at the end of the day, all we want to do is help dealers sell more cars more often and more profitably. And I'll tell you right now, when the issue that Jim Ziegler brought up about privacy information, this, that, and everything, I supported that. TrueCar admitted that the way their model was before was faulty. What they're doing now is nothing bad. They just set the lines of demarcation. I don't know any dealer that in their right mind would turn around and say, no, let me get this straight. You're going to give me a bunch of leads, and I don't have to pay for it unless someone buys a car. So there might be some crossover, there might be some confusion. Talk to your TrueCar rep. Say, hey, listen, I had a person that bought a car 4 times here, you know, and they this, that, and the other thing. Can I get a credit on this? Until they turn around and slam you and say, no, screw you, buddy, you can't get nothing, how are we going to go attack them? I mean, this is the problem with social media. Social media, you know, perpetuates like all this stuff, you know, before anything even happened. It's a policy. So again, at the end of the day, we all have our own opinion, and this is just my opinion for whatever it's worth. Like I said, I think that, you know, both Brian Pasch and Joe Webb are very smart and they're successful people, and I wish them the best of luck, but they understand, brothers, you guys, what you say has influence. You should really turn around and get both sides of it and really just be careful because it's buzzing for nothing. They're not doing anything wrong. Again, as soon as I'm done talking, you're going to see the actual TrueCar interview. Thank you very much. I'm Sean V. Bradley. I'm just trying to shed some light.
Creator of Automotive Internet Sales, and I've got a special guest company online today. Obviously, if you're seeing my screen, it's TrueCar. I've got Mike Timmons, who's the Executive Vice President of TrueCar, and I've got Ken Potter, who is the Vice President of Dealer Development. Gentlemen, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to get right into it. Obviously, gentlemen, TrueCar is a huge company. You have so much visibility. So many dealers are on the program. But right now, in this last week, there's been a lot of crazy things flying over these social media blogs. And I personally feel that TrueCar has not had a fair shake in the current situation. I think people, for whatever reason, are jumping on and they're saying half-truths or partial information, and other people are taking that partial information or that misinformation, unintentional or intentional, whatever it is, and they're making wrong assumptions of the company. And my responsibility, you know, as the creator and the chief editor of Automotive Internet Sales is just to get clarity. And instead of assuming anything, I want to go directly to the executives and the senior people at TrueCar and say, okay, guys, what's going on? So can we do that today, gentlemen?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to switch the screens over here. And right now, there was a post that started by Joe Webb, and Dealer knows, and he's a respected, you know, trainer and consultant, and I know Joe, and I was a little bit taken aback by the veracity of the information that was on here about the blog post. Have you gentlemen had a chance to read this?
We have. Okay.
Now, basically, can you give me your assessment of this? You know, pretty much what they're saying is this the beginning and end of TrueCar. So, like, that's a very bold statement. You're a major company, so is this the beginning of the end for TrueCar? He kind of goes in and says that TrueCar is kind of changing their policies on credits and dealers' money and yada, yada, yada. Let me just go into, let's go for Ken Potter. Can you take the first question? What is your thoughts of the article? Is it true what he's saying in his blog post?
Certainly the write-off policy portion is true, and the piece that he posted on there that we actually are creating a policy is true. I think it's fair to say that people don't necessarily understand, you know, how we got to this point or, you know, why we're moving forward with a write-off policy and why we think that's fair and transparent for our dealers on our program.
Okay, can you do me a favor? Can you explain what the write-off policy is right here? Because this looks like it's official TrueCar paperwork. This is saying it's copyright of TrueCar. So
sure.
Basically, can you just explain what the write-off policy means? If, you know,
sure.
like
so,
this is obviously just bottom line. Like if I'm a regular person without legal mumbo jumbo, what does this mean?
So obviously, you know, we had our issues, you know, 18 months, 24 months ago with the way that our systems work for dealers, and we've worked really hard at changing all of that and providing better tools and better transparency and more clarity around how we go to market with dealers and the value we provide them. In going through the process, it's interesting because we are an 8-year-old company and we are a big company, but I also kind of look at it like from a really deep dive at like partnering with dealers. We're an 18-month company, and we've sort of changed everything, and this is just one of the areas that when we took a deep look at our business, we were like, hey, wait a minute, we have a handful, or not a handful, a few hundred dealers of our 6,500 dealers. who are writing off invoices at a heavy rate. So that has an impact to us because obviously we have partners with great members like USA and AAA and Consumer Reports. And our commitment to them is that we provide them a great experience and that their customers get taken care of, and that we account for a sale somewhere along the way and show them the value, our partners. So when we started looking at this and we started calling the dealer, we basically had a lot of dealers giving us various reasons for why they would want to write off, such as, I had the customer 3 years ago, the customer was in my store last week, he's a friend of my owner, he's this, and we had all these reasons. And given the period of time that we had gone through, we really tried to say, okay, let's just err on the side of the dealer and let's look at everything objectively and try to, be a friend. And there are certainly some dealers who basically took advantage of that and have even told us that, you know what, if you don't ask, you don't get, and we needed basically to say, hey, to our owner, hey, I got $3,000 back this month, or I got $600 back this month from TrueCar. And at the end of the day, that model doesn't work for us because it's not transparent across all dealers. It doesn't work for all dealers. We have the vast majority of our dealers, 90% of our dealers or so, never ask for a write-off. So how do we let 10% or so write off heavily without letting the other? So when we looked at the policy, we just started calling the 10% probably 3 months ago, and we said, hey guys, look, we need to change the behaviors around this. We feel very strongly about the introductions we make to you and why that's a sale and what it means to us and our members, our partner members, and we're going to have to adjust this. So certainly we got some feedback from them like, we don't feel this is fair. We want to keep writing off at the level we've been writing off. At the end of the day, we basically said, look, ideally, hopefully dealers look at our business from a perspective of, what did I pay you for the last 90 days? What did I sell and what did I make? And at the end of the day, does that make sense for the dealer? And if it doesn't make sense for the dealer, then you shouldn't be on our program. It shouldn't be about, how do I write off enough stuff to make it make sense for me? So ultimately, what came out of that is basically saying, tell me what I can write off. Tell me what I can write off. And so in absence of saying you can write off nothing, we said, okay, let's clarify it. Let's make it fair. Let's open it up to everybody else in the country and let them have the same level playing field. So that's how we came up with the policy.
Okay, so I'm looking at stuff that the most important thing right here is stuff that they can't write off. What can't you write off? And it says situations in which TrueCar will not provide write-offs. Any other source. So if I'm understanding, if I'm an internet department and I have 5 or 6 third-party providers, TrueCar, AutoBytel, Cars Direct, Dealix, AutoUSA, whatever, and we have duplicate leads. So if the prospect, let's say the prospect's name is Joe Argento. Joe turns around and goes to TrueCar and submits an internet purchase request for a Honda Accord, but he also does so with Cars Direct and AutoBytel. Usually, the rule used to be that whoever originated that lead first gets that credit, and then the other lead source providers would write it off. So you're telling me that if somebody went clearly to AutoBytel, that lead came in first, it was time-stamped in the CRM, then they went to Dealix the next day, and maybe 2 days later they went to TrueCar, you guys will not write that off even though there's evidence that it went there beforehand?
So how we look at that is the way that we go to market is very different from lead generation companies. We do not allow customers to go on our site or go through any of our affiliate member sites and say, how do I just get a price, or how do I, see, a price or an incentive or this and become a lead. You cannot become a lead unless you literally go through 14, 15, 16 pages of information, build out your vehicle, and register. You have to be registered through email or your Facebook or Gmail account, and it is a legitimate process that leads a customer to believe they are buying something. This isn't, I want a price. The customer has the price already. You do not need to interact with our dealers to see their price. We're going to show you the price based on the different state models we run. Some areas it's target price, some areas it's savings off of MSRP, some it's guaranteed price. That's all based on the state, but we give you that up front. And we also pop up 2 or 3 different times in the process for the customer. You understand you're going to be going to a dealer. This dealer is going to call you. You are in the process of buying a car. So it's a very different process. I think if we were like everybody else, where we had very sort of loose lead forms and all we were trying to do was give as many introductions to dealers as possible, then yeah, we would have to look at the policy the way that other people look at it. But because we are different, we don't look at it like that. The one example that I think is missing in all of this is virtually every other vendor that I know of makes money in multiple ways. They make it from the dealer. They make it from advertising. They make it from third-party deals with, outside lenders or, companies like LendingTree. They make it with auction companies. They make it with all sorts of different ways. The dealer's paying them, and then they're using their websites to make money many different ways. TrueCar does not make any money except from the dealer. That's it, period. The only money we make is from the dealer. So we have to partner. We have to be accountable, and it does have to make sense. That, to me, is the crazy thing of it all, is that we do want this to work for the dealer, and it has to be good for them. It might not work for everyone. Some dealers might not find any value in the program, and that's okay. We know thousands and thousands do. But that's the real reason why we're
Let me jump in there, because you just said something that's really key, is that we're not going to mention any names about any other companies, but obviously recently there was a huge fallout with a major online classified company, actually a couple of them, and the fallout was that they were churning leads. Can you explain what the definition in third-party providers is of churning leads to the public?
Well, I can tell you what I know from my history, and you know that I ran CarsDirect.com for 11 years, and we were a lead gen company, and we played heavily in the wholesale market, and we did a lot of things. And it's interesting. The question that I get asked by virtually every dealer, and I've been in 1,000 dealers since I've been at TrueCar in the past 18 months, and they all ask me, who would you use? What do you think about this company? What do you think about that company? And for me, it is always about, tell me what you're trying to accomplish. It isn't about who you should use, because if your business model was, I'm trying to drive as much volume as I can, I'm going to hire as many people as I can, then I would tell you to buy from everybody. There are good leads across all companies. You just need to understand the platform, how it works, and how it fits in with you. And this, I think, is a little bit of a struggle for us, because our leads, our introductions come in the same way other people's leads do, and they look at us the same when, in fact, we're different. So when I look at other companies, and when I look at lead gen and in specific, there are reasons why a dealer would want that. There are reasons why a dealer would want used car syndication, and they would want a customer who originally was on a Chevy to then click 3 other Chevys like it and then get an introduction, because they're just trying to get their hand up, right? It's, hey, I want my hand in the mix. So for me, dealers should fully understand from each and every vendor, what do you provide me? Where do you get your leads from? And that's the one other thing about TrueCar. We share with you 100% of the time where the introduction comes from every single source. We're the only company who will tell you this is exactly where the customer came from, this is what they saw, these are the 15 pages they clicked, and this is what they have been given in their hand, their certificate. Nobody else will do that. So,
Ken, let me jump right in here, because that's the thing. This is the problem that I'm having. I agree with you that a lot of these other lead source providers or aggregators, they churn their leads. They're making money from multiple different diverse revenue streams, where I definitely understand clearly that your revenue is coming solely from the dealer. And like you said, one of the reasons why I really have always respected you is because you've always been very honest. Well, some lead source providers will say, you only buy my leads. You just said it on record that it depends what the dealership strategy is. There's nothing wrong with diversifying your lead intake. So the reason why I wanted to do this is just kind of get your opinion on record. If I'm understanding you correctly, yes, there is a policy, and it's in place. Here's the reasons why. What I heard you say is because you were extremely lenient and people were taking advantage. Like that never happens in the automotive industry, right? Is they were over, and think they were over crediting themselves. And I got to tell you, as a national consultant, I find a lot of times that dealers say leads are bogus or they're garbage or they suck for whatever lead source provider. But a lot of the times, even I may dare so say most of the times, especially nowadays, with all the verification processes and vetting processes, it's not the lead source provider necessarily sucks. It has to more often than not have to do with the dealership not set up properly, not having enough people, not having the right processes, not following the right process. So I don't think that any lead source provider or classified listing or aggregator should have to suffer for the mediocrity of a department. And the path of least resistance is just being able to write stuff off so you can get a better ROI. So I don't think that there's personally anything wrong with having a policy. You're never going to please everybody. You know, you're not going to please every dealership, but what I think is important is that the dealerships have transparency. They understand what the policies are before and during the engagement with TrueCar or any other vendor. And they have to take responsibility and say, look, I understand what the rules are, what the policies are, and I choose to do business with TrueCar, or I choose not to do business with them. If they do a cost-benefit analysis at the end of the month or the end of the quarter and say, okay, I invested X amount of dollars, and I've grossed X amount, and I've netted X amount, and my average cost per sale is X amount of dollars. That's what I think is important. You know, there's a big difference from churning leads and in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of that at all, and I'm really not a big fan of that company that I mentioned before that was, you know, taking money from a dealer and then selling the dealer's inventory to another vendor, and that vendor was slamming the dealer. Like, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't think that's what's happening at all here. You just need to set a line of demarcation of what's a write-off, what's not a write-off. And I think that if dealers turn around and jump on the propaganda with some of these people, which are incorrect, in my opinion, and are overly biased, a little too enthusiastically, if I may say, and they're not analyzing, I think that it all has to do with money. Nobody talks about the money aspect of these things. At the end of the day, it matters how much are you netting. You know what I mean? So if you do a cost-benefit analysis, if you turn around and identify how much I'm investing in TrueCar or any other vendor, how much am I grossing, what are my expenses, what is this, and at the end of the day, if your average cost per sale in advertising with TrueCar is $200 or around there per car, what's the bad part? Would you agree with that statement? Are we on the same page or no?
I would agree with that. The dealer has to, and that's the one thing I tell you, we've turned over the majority of our staff, 3/4 of our executive team, the people who we have employed by us, while sometimes passionate and, you know, let their views get out there in a manner that we don't necessarily like. We are dealer focused. We don't make any money unless the dealer sells cars. I can tell you that we had a little over 100,000 certificates created in our various platforms last month, and 40,000 of those people on a trailing 30 days bought a car. When you say 40,000 out of 100,000 bought a car, and then we also know that another 30% are buying a car over the next 60 days, we know our program is relevant. So we're trying to give dealers the choice and understanding. Here's how TrueCar does their business. Here's exactly from A to Z what's in it for me. Here's the training they offer. Here's the support they offer. And here's what I'm going to get out of it. We're the only company who does that. Everybody else takes the dealer's money up front and then says, let me figure out what I can get for you. And if there ain't enough to get for you, let me figure out how I spend your own money on SEM in competition with you. And we just don't want to do that. We really want to be accountable to the dealer. And unfortunately, some people won't get it. Some people will. The good news is we have about 6,500 dealers. We're close to about what we need from a coverage perspective for our current customer base. And we just want to keep our members happy and want to keep our dealers happy.
Mike, I got a question for you. I'm going to redirect real quick. I was just in Detroit working with the dealer group out there in Detroit, and there's some misinformation that the 20 groups, I'm not going to mention the 20 group service, but it's one of the older traditional 20 groups, was sending out memos to their dealers that TrueCar is bad because, and what I was told was that, and this was the scenario, the example, that a prospect could come into the dealership and actually buy a car, leave the lot, go onto TrueCar's website, maybe to hold it, see if the dealership was, not doing the wrong thing. They want to basically keep the dealer honest, and then TrueCar would turn around and take that money, and they would charge that dealership for that deal. So I'm going to repeat that. Does that even make sense that, somebody comes in, gets spotted on a car, after the car is sold and booked out through F&I, they go back home and say, well, did I just get cracked? Let me go online. and they go to TrueCar's website and fill out information to just try to see if if they got a good deal or not, and then TrueCar is going to charge that dealer for after the sale. Is that possible? Is that realistic? Is that what you would consider legit or no?
Sean, that certainly isn't part of our practice, nor would we ever charge something after a sale was final. As Ken stated, we're different than other companies out there. We don't charge up front. We don't charge just for introductions. We're incentivized to drive sales, and we only want to be compensated. We introduce a customer to a dealership that results in the sale. The policy is such that, again, there certainly has been some opportunistic dealers. I understand that. I get it. Probably would be the same. But as an organization, especially an organization that is changing and maturing, we are putting risk out there. And with that risk and that marketing, we need to make sure that we have discipline in our business practices. And it is unfair to go to a dealer and negotiate every individual transaction with him. It's unfair for our dealers. Our dealers have been asking us for a policy, so what we tried to do is design a policy that we felt was fair and balanced with input from our dealers and input from our dealer council. Everybody's not going to like it. To Ken's point, we certainly believe we drive value to our dealerships, and we hope that if you're a TrueCar dealer, you stay on our program. But if the return on investment is not there for your individual dealership, then I would not suggest being on the program. Find avenues of marketing that are better suited for your dealership.
Mike, let me jump in. Thank you so much for clearing that up. I want to, again, just coming from me, I want to make it clear, so let the record show, it is not TrueCar's policy to turn around and charge for a deal after, someone buys a car. And I believe you told me in a previous phone call that if that happened to happen, that would be a credit, correct?
It's 100% write-off. If there was ever a mistake made that a dealer was billed for a vehicle that they purchased and someone went in after the fact and were price shopping, did I get a good deal, we would write that car off 100% of the time.
And let's also talk about this policy is that, yes, there's policies and there's stuff in stone, and with the next statement I have, I'm going to be cautious. I'm not going to turn around and say that this is an overused thing or this should be happening all the time, but there's always different situations. I want to make it clear that I know you guys. I know you guys to be, good people. I know Ken. How many years have I known you, Ken? 10?
We've known one another for at least 12 years.
Yeah, God, man, I'm getting old. So I've known you for about 12 years. When I was an internet, sales manager at Cherry Hill Nissan and Pine Belt Auto Group in New Jersey, and I've had my company for almost 10 years now. So, oh my God, you're right. I've known you for about 12 years, and I know one of the reasons why they brought you on from Cars Direct to TrueCar was because of your integrity, your dedication to dealers, your honesty, and I'm saying that because I've known you for 12 years. So you're not just some vendor that I'm doing a little interview on. I did this because I personally know you as a man and your integrity. And if you're telling me, Sean, we have the dealer's best interest in mind, I believe you. And I want the world to know that if there was a question or a problem with policy, TrueCar is not going to just throw up the middle finger and say, deal with it. I'm sure you have intelligent people, managers, supervisors that will be able to talk to a dealership and identify. Is that correct? Like, it's not like it is what it is. Here's the policy, but let me understand what your concerns are, and we will discuss it. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we have, and it's written in there. There's a couple things that have sort of spiraled out of control. TrueCar will never let you write anything off. No, that's not correct. There are full write-offs, and we're also giving you partial write-offs. So there's many reasons why there would be a full write-off. One example that we know happens because we deal with insurance companies who have total loss that run through our program is a customer will go in and they're at the dealer, and then the dealer got the customer their own way or through some other vendor or something, and the customer bought a car. They call their insurance company. The insurance company's like, oh, you should use our car buying service. Well, in cases like that, if the insurance company convinces the customer that, to put a lead for them in, even though they're there at the dealership buying a car, which is rare, but it can happen, that's a full write-off. That's nothing we did. So, and then in other cases, if you have visited, if you came to the dealer through the manufacturer or their own website, we're giving them partial write-off. So we're giving them $100 partial write-off. We're trying to be as fair as we can. The one thing that other that I want to clear up is I see a lot of stuff out there about, hey, TrueCar is greedy, this is about money. The interesting thing is, if you looked at our data, by removing the couple hundred dealers who have really high write-off and then letting everybody else on the program have access to write-offs they never had, I actually think we'll probably end up costing us a little bit more money than we have now. This is not about money, it's about fairness.
No, I would agree. Now, is there anything else that I'm missing? Because we're winding down the interview here. Is there anything else that I am missing in the allegations from the Dealer Knows website or from you know, the different people that have jumped on here about this?
I suppose, you know, I mean, people, you know me, and people hear me speak a lot, and you know, Mike and I care. We care about this business. We've both been car guys for a long time. We've employed a lot of people who care. And I suppose at the end of the day, if you don't, one of the greatest things you and I agree on this is always seek first to understand. Seek first to understand is the greatest lesson I've ever learned in life. And I want dealers to understand. So I'm totally okay with you putting my contact information up there, my cell phone, my home address, whatever. If you have questions, just call and ask. And you know that I've always done business this way. I will tell you, you know what, Mr. Dealer, based on what you're telling me, this isn't a good plan for you. I will literally say you shouldn't be on our program. I am the only vendor that I've ever told to a dealer when they say to me, should I be on this? I would never say to, you know, you shouldn't be on those other programs. But I certainly have told dealers, I don't think my program will work for you. And at the end of the day, we just want to partner with dealers, and it's free choice. It's free choice. But we do care.
I'm going through all this stuff. You know what? It's a shame. I want to also bring something up, is that I don't ever get involved in these things. Like, I don't ever, you will never, in the 10 years I've owned this company, see me go on a tirade online. You know what I mean? Like, whatever I do behind closed doors with my colleagues, my employees, as far as my opinions, is internal. You know, one time in my career, which was with that online classified, I posted a video because I felt that a couple so-called experts, you know, were running their mouth and going against Jim Ziegler, who I admire and is a friend and a mentor of mine. But, you know what's a shame is that it seems that people thrive on negativity, you know, and I want to address that right here, is that, you know, whether you're a recording artist like Justin Bieber or Lady Gaga, I mean, like, they say negative stuff. They're either, you know, Lady Gaga's a man and Justin Bieber is this or that. Everybody goes online. They have, like, these I don't know, ambiguous muscles. Just because they're online, they could say whatever they want. There's no filter. And it's a shame is that people perpetuate negativity. Whether it's negativity on a vendor, it's negativity on a customer, they just thrive on negativity. And again, it really just drives me crazy because nothing is perfect. You know what I mean? But if you've got a company that's trying to do the right thing, I don't think people should just jump on the bandwagon and try to smash them and pound them on the ground, you know, if they don't deserve it. If they're trying to do the right thing, you might not agree with it, express your disagreement. It's, you know, it's a free country to express your opinion, but don't add negative propaganda. Don't add, you know, misinformation or straight up false information. Would you guys agree with that?
Well, I could tell you that, and I know you follow me on Twitter, I very seldom tweet, once every couple weeks when I feel inspired to do so. And the message I wrote today, because I actually saw somebody in my personal life having a heated argument with somebody else, and it just made me think that hateness spreads faster, especially online, but kindness will always outlast it. So be kind today. That's my thinking.
Again, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time. And Ken, can you give contact information? I'll have it on the video. You'll be the point guard on this with your dealer development, you know, role. So if somebody's got a question about TrueCar, how could they reach you? What is your email address? Spell it for me. And then what is your phone number to reach you at?
My email address is kpotter, P-O-T-T-E-R, @truecar.com. And my cell phone is 310-895-0824. Dealers can call me anytime. Feedback is a gift. The one thing I will say, despite the fact that a lot of people, as you say, go out and post a bunch of negative stuff, I certainly want to hear it, see it, I suppose, and read it, because if there's anything valid in there, then I will look at that and say, how do we help our dealers? feedback is a gift. If anybody wants to give me feedback in any form, whether it's constructive or positive or negative, I'm willing to hear it.
Well, again, Ken and Mike from TrueCar, thank you, gentlemen, very much. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to set the record straight.
Thank you.